Before COVID-19, there was something else that concerned long-term care facilities, and it's still a concern, and that is that of waterborne illnesses like Legionnaires' disease. If you recall, here in Illinois, we've had a lot of focus and attention on that, even just 4 or 5 years ago, with an outbreak that happened at a veterans home that killed 12 or 13 veterans. And that was back in 2015, and it plagued the former Rauner administration all throughout his administration. But it's still an issue. There are still some concerns about Legionnaires' disease and other waterborne illnesses. But a recent law that was signed into effect may help address some of that and looks to protect some of those at-risk communities from waterborne illnesses. It is Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and Talk, and we're joined now by Brad Considine. He is with a group that is focused on this issue, the Alliance to Prevent Legionnaires Disease. Brad, thanks for taking time with us here on Springfield's Morning News. Tell us about this law.
Yeah, Greg, this law, I think, is an exciting step forward in Illinois because it requires water utilities to notify healthcare facilities of disruptions in the water system that can release this bacteria from the distribution system into healthcare facilities, assisted living, and nursing homes where the most vulnerable to this bacteria reside. And so it's kind of a critical step forward. Approximately 25% of those who contract Legionnaire's disease in those settings it tends to be fatal. So it's a critical step forward to put these notifications in place so that the healthcare facilities can better manage the water as they receive it. And they have water management plans that help to stay on top of it.
Brad, when it comes to what we saw back in 2015 and the reaction to it, was this an issue that seemed to be kind of siloed for, different jurisdictions? Like, maybe the health officials in an area didn't necessarily have all the knowledge that they needed to have when it came to dealing with an outbreak, where, a healthcare facility may say, well, it wasn't on us, it was on something else. How is this going to make sure that there's more collaboration and more accountability when it comes to dealing and helping manage water systems?
Yeah, it's a critical step forward because, as you described it, what drove the outbreak has always been the question, and all too often, since this disease was first discovered in 1976, the focus has always gone to a building and a point of exposure, and is not considered the system factors that have driven these cases. And that has been what we feel is the fatal missing link in this, is to understand that this bacteria can make it through our water systems and actually be delivered to facilities where it can then become established and create some exposure. A lot of people remember the Flint water crisis, and a lot of people know about that as lead. But in reality, when they changed to the Flint River as a source water, that's when they had actually a very large Legionnaires outbreak in Flint, and it was driven by the changes in the water system, and it stayed that way until they went back to the original water source. So here we're acknowledging in Illinois that these water disruptions can have an impact on water quality, and they're taking that step to require some level of coordination between the water utilities and the healthcare facilities. It's very much a positive in Illinois. We work across the country, and Illinois is really taking a very proactive approach in how they manage these kind of risk by addressing how water is handled upstream and now how it's addressed in terms of how they coordinate with the people that receive that water so that they can take steps to protect themselves. And it's a big advancement in how we're thinking of addressing Legionnaires' disease.
Brad Considine joins us. He is with the Alliance to Prevent Legionnaires' Disease here with Springfield's Morning News on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and Talk at 7:17. Brad, what else needs to be done? Is this an issue that's now all taken care of because of the law that the governor signed?
No, we wish it was, but we continue to try to drive upgrades in terms of how we manage and communicate these risks. And we're trying to take water risk and elevate them so that the visibility for all of the residents of Illinois and around the country are being informed of where those risks are. People that are immune compromised tend to have the greatest risk, and so they need to be informed when those risks are higher, and they need to start to understand more about the things that they can do to mitigate those risks and how they handle water. They want to be very careful with stagnant water. They want to be very careful to have residual disinfectants, in our water system to take care of the bacteria if it gets reintroduced. And they want to avoid, they want to avoid exposure to where stagnant water has been for the potential that the bacteria has developed in it.
Brad Considine, he again is with the Alliance to Prevent Legionnaires Disease. Greatly appreciate you taking the time with us this morning and giving us the upshot, so to speak, of what exactly this new law does and how we can continue to focus on what can be a deadly disease, especially for those who are at-risk communities living in long-term care facilities. Greatly appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate it as well. Thanks, Greg. Have a good day.
It is Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY. Springfield.